was worth keeping. So you cleaned me up inside. You thought I was to die for. So you sacrificed your life so I could be free, so I could be whole, so I could tell everyone I know.
You thought I was worth saving.
Ooh, yeah.
So you came and changed my life.
You thought I was...
We do owe the Lord much. We have a responsibility to reply, to respond, and to react to what God has done in our lives. God has done a marvelous thing, one that our minds do not have the capability of measuring, one that our hands cannot encompass, one that our own body and time frame cannot fully appreciate nor appropriate. But what do we owe the Lord? David cried oftentimes unto the Lord in his lowly, sinful, helpless state. He knew that it was God who delivered his soul from death, a death that took its origin in Adam. God heard him as well as God hears us now in our pain, and applied to David and applies to us the balm of Gilead to our wounded souls, to our crippled minds, and to our fainting hearts. And he lifted us up to the plane of imputed perfection in Jesus Christ, to ultimately become faithful sons and daughters of the company of God. What a grand opportunity, what a great God we have and we serve in this universe, who has extended to us all of these mercies and favors. Not only did he make the ultimate sacrifice of his son so that we and the whole world might have life, but he offered to make us, you and me, sons and daughters, brides of the church, and give us his own nature. What a magnificent offer to someday be a member of the greatest company of the universe, after God and after his son, Jesus Christ. Contemplate our future as described in Psalms 45 and 17. I will make thy name to be remembered in all generations. Therefore shall the people praise thee forever and forever. That passage should make every one of us realize that even now, every one of us, everybody, everywhere, are blessed to dwell in the house of God. And that now and forever we shall be those who are still praising and giving thanksgiving to God. What shall I render unto the Lord? Therefore shall be the natural response of every consecrated child of God. What do I give in return for the gifts bestowed upon me, for the great opportunity that I have in life? Oh, you can't wrap up a box of See's candy and give it to God, because he's already sweet, I know. As powerful and as a statement of purpose and reality that a Hallmark card makes. You can't send God a Hallmark card, even if you do prefer and prepare and desire to send the very best. He is already the very best. Oh, you can't drop by in your limousine and pick up God and drive God down to the biggest steakhouse in the neighborhood and treat him to a steak dinner, because he already owns the cattle on 10,000 hills. He's not impressed by a steak dinner. You can't fold up a couple $100 bills and slip it into God's hand, because God already owns the silver and the gold. The treasures of the universe belong to God. You can't buy God a house up on the hill and give him a place to live, because God is bigger than houses. Cannot be contained in structural representations of our own architectural design. You can't buy God a limousine and send it to heaven, because there ain't no limousines in heaven, because heaven sells no gasoline. You can't buy God. You can't barter God. You can't gift your way into the heart of God. So what is it that we owe God? How is it that we repay God? How do we respond to God, react to God for the good things that God has done to us? How do we emulate to God how pleased we are for what God has done for us, for you and for me? How do we tell the world and shame the devil that I'm going to tell God how much I love God? How do you imitate? How do you emulate? How do you structure? How do you put together? How do you put out? How do you demonstrate your love for God, for what God has done for you? Your name was not on the obituary column in the LA Times this morning. You didn't change your address in Haiti or Cuba or Jamaica or in Florida or in South Carolina because the earthquake took your life and everything you had. No, it didn't happen to you. All the traffic accidents yesterday that took the lives of men and women and children on the highways of these United States of America, you escaped that death call. When the fire burned up houses and when the mudslides pushed houses off the edge and people were killed and trapped, you were not in that number. When the doctor walked in and said, I'm sorry, but we've done everything we can and it's only a matter of time, you were not on that list. But because God spared you, because God looked over, passed you by, because God, like the angel of death in Egypt, on the night of the death of the firstborn, the angel flew over your house and passed you over. What do you do to praise God, to thank God for the great blessing and the great sparing that He has brought into your life? The only thing you can do, the only gift you can give, the only expression of appreciation, the only demonstration of any kind of gratitude, any kind of thanksgiving, any kind of appreciation, the only thing you can do to thank God, the only gift you can give that God does not already own is your praise. That's all you can give. When you praise God, God understands who you are. When you praise God, God receives your prayer. That's why in the Old Testament, when they burn an offering before the Lord, they call it a praise offering. When the praise offering went up, it's like smoke, it's like fire that burned up the beast on the altar. And when the beast on the altar was mixed with fat and mixed with sweet herb, and the tendering sensation of that smoke and that vapor went up into the heaven, it permeated the olfactory nerves of God's nostrils. And God said, it smells sweet. I know every time you praise God, you make God smile. Every time you worship God, you make God pleased. Every time you fall down on your knees and say thank you to God, God becomes the receiver and the beneficiary of your grace. You can't give God nothing but your praise. All you got to give God is your praise. All you can offer God is your praise. Only thing God will receive from you is your praise. Everything else, God already owns. That's why David says, I will offer him the cup of salvation. To David, a faithful Israelite, the man of God's own heart, and God's presence and help were found in the temple and its associated services. It was the only way an Israelite might approach God and receive forgiveness, help for their sins. 1 Kings chapter 8, in the context of the temple service, David sought to express his thanksgiving to his God by inquiring, what should I render unto the Lord for all of the benefits He's shown upon me? I will take the cup of salvation, David says. What did David have in mind in this expression? Perhaps he had Leviticus 8 in mind when he saw the consecration of the priests in their service to God. It meant an expression of full and complete consecration of being and will of God's service. For the cup of salvation calls to mind the memorial supper. Here Christ chose the emblem of the cup to symbolize not only his sacrificial offering of sins, but also our part of filling the cup, that which is behind his offering for the whole world. The cup of blessing which we are blessed by. It is not the communion of the blood of Christ. It is a cup of death, because only thereby can salvation of the world be attained. It's only through Christ and his death does life come. It is only through his sacrificial offering and giving that we have an opportunity to extend ourselves into the glory that God has promised. Without the death of Christ, there is no salvation for any of us. David says, I offer him the cup of salvation. Then again, he said, I offer him sacrifices of thanksgiving. We can see that in the cup of salvation, a vow is followed by a declaration of fulfillment. David vowed to fulfill it in the presence of his people here in the nation of Israel there. We also see it, and we understand that it attains to something else in the primary vow, a thing of offering. We give God some thanksgiving, because in that thanksgiving is a form of praise also. Because, and when we say thanksgiving is to God, we're actually saying to God, thank you for what you have given me. You didn't have to do it, but you did it anyhow. In spite of who I was, you still stepped in the gap and you made a difference for my world. If you don't think all that praise is necessary.